So what makes a generation a generation? First, we need to understand that generations, like people, are born, they have a childhood, they come of age, they move into young adulthood, they move into midlife, they move into elderhood, and they die. And so, like people, generations have a desire to shape the world, to leave their mark on the world, to be known for something. And this creates a sense of urgency around what they want to do at that time in life that they want to fix and make the world a better place. So so a sense of urgency is one of the things that kind of defines a generation. But Strauss and Howe, William Strauss and Neil Howe, in their wonderful books on generations, describe 3 core things that define a generation. So the first is shared age, location, and time. And I would say the easiest way to describe that right now would be the COVID-19 event. I mean, this is outer world events impact everyone. It's the same event, but where you are in what phase of life, where you and your cohorts in your generation are, impacts you differently. It is a very different experience to be a child during COVID-19 and be told that you're going home and learning from school versus a young adult who maybe has just graduated from school and is starting their career and has this whole vision of a bright future, and suddenly the economy is different. It's a very different responsibility and role if you're a midlife adult who has kids at home that you're homeschooling, and maybe you've got a company that you've been building up over the last 10 years and you've got 100 employees and you're trying to figure out how to keep the lights on, etc., versus if you're in elderhood during this event. So same event, but your common age, location, and time shows how these different events will impact your generation. The next thing that generations have in common is they have common and shared beliefs and behaviors. And so while, of course, when we are talking about people born over a period of 20 years of time, and especially for a country as large as, for example, the United States, tens and tens of millions of people in each generation, there's a lot of room for individual expression, for variation, for fuzziness around the edges, the definitions. And it is equally true that each generation has a core personality, a core archetype. And so these beliefs and behaviors, these shared beliefs and behaviors can be attitudes toward risk. They can be attitudes toward trust in government. They can be attitudes toward family. It can be, is collaboration and team more important, or is self-expression and the individual experience more important? These things vary from generation to generation in terms of the core archetypal personality. And then the third thing that generations have is they have a shared sense and perception of being in the same generation. Now, what this means is that your generation's core personality can be here. You might be smack dab in the middle and really I'm totally like my generation. Or you might be very different from your generation. One way or the other, you're comparing yourself to your generation. You're always looking at your peers, your group. That's you ping to that. Everyone does. Whether you're focused on it or you just sort of do it in the back of your mind, but that's part of generations. And then the other thing is that with all of these things, with the shared age, location, time, the shared beliefs and behaviors, and the shared common sense and perception in a generation, what you get is you also get endowments. You get negative and positive endowments and attributes that each generation has. And each generation has very, very positive things that it leaves in its wake. And each generation has excesses and deficiencies that future generations feel it's their job to correct and fix, which then, of course, creates future excesses and deficiencies within which other generations feel they need to correct and fix. So, and onward, and so it goes. So that is some understanding and information about what makes a generation a generation.